You are listening to Rooted to Earth, a SAE Innova podcast.
I think all the strategies from us should involve and include farmers and land managers, because we are convinced that collaborating with our farmers is the key to success. So we learned as much from them as they learn from us. We try to be aware of the various demands farmers need to meet, because farming is tightly regulated nowadays. For example, regarding compliance with the conditionality and with environmental regulations of the CAP. So moreover, farmers need to make decisions on long-term investment, keep up with new technologies and research finding, and also as well as adapt their farms to changing conditions. Well, just the other day I had a telephone call from a girl who was 16 years old, and as she said, I just want to be a shepherd. So I just want to be a shepherd. I want to do that, and my father supports me. But she was disorientated. She didn't know where to go to prepare as a shepherd. So I was telling her about the shepherd schools, etc. But of course, it's not easy to access to that information. So traditional knowledge can teach us how to deal with climate change, with contemporary problems. And this is something we really should promote, not to lose the knowledge that can help us to survive.
This is a space for real conversations, from farmers and scientists to community leaders and innovators, each of them working to bring nature back into balance. This is Rooted to Earth. Welcome back to Rooted to Earth. Today, we are diving into a crucial topic at the heart of sustainability: how we can protect our environment and biodiversity while also ensuring that we can feed ourselves. Joining us is Concha Salguero, the second president of Landcare Europe, an organization working as a network dedicated to fostering biodiversity, resilient ecosystems, and quality of life in European landscapes. Their core belief is in protecting nature together with people rather than from people, recognizing that communities are crucial for maintaining a healthy environment. Operating as a network, Landcare Europe works cooperatively with land users, farmers, local communities, nature conservation organizations, political authorities, and decision makers. It's a growing movement, currently spanning over 29 countries across Europe. Throughout this episode, we will explore how Landcare Europe translates its vision into actions on the ground, working closely with communities to find solutions that benefit both nature and people. Hi, Concha. Thank you for being here with us today, and welcome to Rooted to Earth.
Thanks to you for inviting me.
So, you are based in Madrid, right?
Yeah, I'm not from Madrid. I'm from Extremadura, which is a region close to Portugal, and it's a more rural community. But I've been living here for a time because of my job this latest year. But I think it's a very exciting city, really. It's always something new to discover.
Yeah, I've been told. So you are the second president of Landcare Europe, and I think you are, of course, much better than me for introducing this organization.
Yes, I am now the second president. We are three women presidents. So every year, one of us is the main president. So I will be next year. Now I am the second. And Landcare Europe is really a very interesting organization because it's basically a network dedicated to fostering biodiversity and resilient ecosystems and quality of life in European landscape. Because in Landcare Europe, we believe in protecting nature together with people rather than from people. Mm-hmm. So we have that vision that is to create biodiversity and resilient ecosystems, contributing to a better quality of life for people and for all the other living beings in this world. So really in Landcare, we have the mission to preserve and restore biodiversity and making it resilient in cultural landscape, which is a concept that we really like and support, because it's also connected with communities, and communities are crucial for maintaining a healthy environment and healthy rural communities as well. So yeah, we basically are a network that work with cooperatively with land users and farmer, local communities, nature conservation organizations, political authorities, and also decision makers. This is basically what we believe in, and we develop this through different activities, but we can talk about them through the conversation.
Do you operate in whole the European region, or specifically in some countries?
Well, we basically want to make Europe network organization, but we also have the figure of friends from Landcare Europe. So for the moment, we have the priority to make a Landcare Europe network, but we really are aiming to reach further away in Europe. And now we are in conversations with countries like members in Turkey and other countries outside Europe. But basically, Landcare collaborates across various landscapes in Europe, also working with farmers and different stakeholders. And we span over 29 countries.
Something you mentioned at the beginning is interesting, because it's a crucial point of view that differentiates from other perspectives about conservation. It's promoting sustainability and land care with the help of people, and not from protecting from people.
Absolutely. I think you cannot really divide it in two worlds. I mean, it's not possible to produce food without taking care of the environment at the same time, because the environment is the base of food production. So we think both can be together and should be together. The key is to find how we can combine food production and healthy environments, and to really adopt innovative approaches in production. We live in this world, and we need to really make both activities complementary. That was what Landcare want to really do, is to promote with the stakeholders involved that different way of producing our food.
From what is written and from your mission and vision, translated to what you are doing on the ground, how does Landcare translate this, from the strategies and from what is written to the ground action?
Yeah, a lot of the strategies, I think all the strategies from us should involve and include farmers and land managers, because we are convinced that collaborating with our farmers is the only key, is the key to success. So we learned as much from them as they learn from us. And we try to include key approaches. Like, for example, we believe in communicating as equals with our farmers, because our farmers have different agricultural businesses and personal backgrounds. So listening carefully to individual concerns, suggestions, and the professional expertise allows Landcare Association to include the farmers' perspective and to speak the same language with them. Also, we try to involve farmers in decision making. Farmers have essential practical knowledge in agricultural measures, and they know the land, they know how the land works. So we learned a lot from their experience and the knowledge that they've been accumulating through their professional life, and also from the traditional knowledge that they also have. And sometimes in policy is ignored that kind of traditional knowledge. So we also try to find economically viable solutions. Why? Because when finding solutions to improve the ecological conditions in agricultural areas, it is important to keep in mind that farming land is not primarily dedicated to nature conservation. They are farmers. The profession is to produce food, and it had to be economically viable. Otherwise, they just keep out of the profession. They quit. Yeah. So also we try to advising on funding sources, which is linked to the previous idea. They also advise, Landcare associations advise on funding programs, for example, on how farmers can apply for them, such as environmental measures within the Common Agricultural Policy. Also, we try to guide farmers, because farming is a very demanding and time-consuming job. So we try to approach the farmers and offer professional advice and qualified guidance. And also, we try to be aware of the various demands farmers need to meet, because farming is tightly regulated nowadays. For example, regarding compliance with the conditionality and with environmental regulations of the CAP. So moreover, farmers need to make decisions on long-term investment, keep up with new technologies and research finding, and also as well as adapt their farms to changing conditions. So they need to be staying economically viable within this very complicated world. So we need to keep that in mind and give the right guidance to them and go with them through this process. And also they should secure financial compensation for farmers. And we also work on that. So sometimes we also, to be practical, we need to adapt meetings and trainings to farming schedules, because, for example, in the winter, in the harvest times, or we try to avoid this kind of process with the farmers and try to keep consultations and trainings and target events, etc., through that peak of busy time. So we do try to do that meetings and trainings and activities when they are not that busy. So we try to adapt to their own circumstances at the end of the day. So I think it's a complex process, but it's also a very rewarding process, because we see that really works and we having results.
You said a couple of key things here. One of them is, for example, policymakers, researchers, they don't have to forget to talk with farmers. Sometimes the policies are trying to be made under a lot of maybe assumptions and not from the straight word from what a farmer needs or what a farmer is facing. And another interesting thing is they are fruit producers, not conservationists. So for them to have the tools, because I'm sure a lot of them want to preserve the land they are taking care of.
Yeah, I think this is one of the crucial points nowadays. As I said, for example, the Common Agricultural Policy, it's a very complex policy. It's full of regulations and requirements for the farmers. So that make it really bureaucracy burden for them, which is one of the most probably, if you ask a farmer, probably one of the first three things they say they can find more difficult is the bureaucracy burden for them. So traditionally, the Common Agricultural Policies is based on regulations that tell the farmers what to do to be financed or to apply for a subsidy. I think we are in the transition period, and new approaches have been appearing called result-based payment, and some experiences are being undertaken, where the interesting thing is the opinion and the knowledge of the farmer is taken into account for producing results. So there are interesting experiences in Europe where these regulations the requirements are being made along with the farmers. So they participate in shaping the requirement of the measure, but also they understand why they're receiving the money, because sometimes there is a disconnection between the reason why they're receiving the money and that's make them feel like they are not involved in the activity or the reason why they getting that support. But in this new kind of approach to this measure, they participate in the shape and they understand that if they get good results, they receiving that public money. And this is very good because you involve the farmers in the whole process. And this is crucial to take that step in the new period of the common agriculture policy in Europe. I think that would improve enormously the results of the money invested in the common agriculture policy.
I remember on the first episode what it was said about how young people thinks about what farming is, and if farming is a profession that makes them see themselves with a, let's say, successful future for them.
I think in the past, farming life was much harder. I mean, the conditions were no good. So most of the mothers and fathers didn't want their children to work in the farm because they thought it was too hard for them, too hard life for them, and they would prefer to send them to study to university to be qualified for a different profession. It's not the general case, but it is very common, and it was very common in the past. So the result is children were disconnected with their parents' environment and their parents' and their grandparents' life. But we need farmers. We need to produce food. We need to take care of the environment. And also, there are children that want to stay in their rural areas and they want to work in the farm. So we don't need everybody wanting to stay and to be a farmer. We just need the right number of people that want to do that. I think the trouble today is they don't have the opportunity so easily to stay in their land and to be a farmer. I don't know. There's probably more opportunities for people who want to be a professional industrial farmer. To work for an industrial agriculture businesses. Perhaps there are more opportunity on that if you want to be really an independent small farmer, because all the investments that you need to do and the effort that you need to do if you are a single farmer is much, much more difficult. So of course, it's risky, it's hard, it's difficult. You need really more financial support. And that is also make the decisions difficult if you want to stay in your area and be a farmer. So we need to really promote the opportunities for these farmers, to these young people who want to stay, and to expose them to the channels where they can qualify, they can learn, they get access to land, which is one of the most difficult elements to this, the access to land. It's funny enough, the rural areas are, in Europe, some rural areas are empty. We talk about the España vaciada, right? That big areas in Spain that are empty, or there are very few people. But at the same time, it's very difficult to access to agricultural land in general in Europe. So we need to promote schemes like pilot farms or where farms where they can learn the profession and to help them with to start in business. Schemes like that has been implemented in some countries in Europe, and we see they are successful. So we really need to promote those experiences that have been proved on the ground And we see at the same time that young people want to be farmer, but we need to create the opportunities for them.
Returning to what said just a moment ago, this typical phrase that we heard a lot on our generation. I don't want you to have the same life of sacrifice I had. I want you to go to college, university, but now to be a farmer, you also need to study, to go to the university, to study about and learn about many technologies involved in the process. So it's also compatible now going to college and being a farmer at the same time. So it changed completely from what it happened maybe 20 or 30, 40 years ago.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I know several cases where they've been into college and they decided to go back to their land and take care of the father's farm or the mother's farm. Some people just think it's the right option. So we need to really create the opportunity for those people who really want to do farming as their profession. Well, just the other day, I had a telephone call from a girl who was 16 years old. And she said, I just want to be a shepherd. So I just want to be a shepherd. I want to do that. And my father supports me. But she was disorientated. She didn't know where to go to prepare as a shepherd. So I was telling her about the shepherd schools, etc. But of course, it's not easy to access to that information because it's not the general, mainstream information that is on the, in the media every day or on the telly every day. We are giving now training courses on wool processing in rural communities. And we are giving that courses in which is now the first wool producing area in Europe, which is Extremadura. And traditionally, sheep and transhuman in Extremadura has been a big activity, traditional activity, and one of the main economical activities through, generations. But now people have no idea, not only just transforming wool, but they never touched wool before.
Don't go that further to see an animal, not on a screen, on 3D.
Obviously, yeah. Well, in cities, absolutely. But I'm talking about the small villages now. So they see the sheep, some sheep somewhere in the landscape, but they never touch wool. They have no idea how the wool is processed or what they do with the wool or how to make your own thread from wool, nothing, how to wash wool, nothing at all. And if you think that was made, was a kind of general knowledge 80 years ago, it's amazing. The quickly we are losing all that knowledge so fast. And in about all these traditional jobs and professions. And that happened generally. And it's really something we should recover, because part of that knowledge is very useful nowadays in front of climate change, for example. So traditional knowledge can teach us how to deal with climate change, with contemporary problems. And this is something we really should promote, not to lose the knowledge that can help us to survive.
Something I mentioned briefly at the beginning, but I didn't explain at all, was this experience that I don't know how often happened, if it's once you read in Madrid once a year, but this transhumance demonstration that now it's kind of an iconic event that connects this rural tradition that you were talking a lot during this conversation with the city life, the urban life.
Well, organizing this is amazing, I have to say. I've been very lucky to be participating in several years in this organization of the sheep parade through the center of Madrid. It's very far from the people in the city and very close. So you realize how close the pastoral culture
is to people in Spain. So when I remember we organized a photo exhibition also in the center of Madrid about transhuman in the Mediterranean, because the transhuman, well, is very strong in Spain still today, but that's happening all over the Mediterranean countries in the past. And 10,000 people passed through the exhibition in a month. And the number of people that came to me to say, oh, I remember when the ship crossed my village when I was a child, it was enormous. And people is so close to your emotions. So pastoral culture is so close to our emotions today, even for people that they were about, in the 60s and 70s, but also in younger people, because they heard the grandparents and the parents talk about that. So we are very close to it still. And even so, people from urban city that never went close, is suddenly they feel very connected with animals, and with amazing animals that sheep are, because they are really amazing and really, really lovely to see and to touch. And also when we have been promoting the wool from the sheep and the touching the wool, and they absolutely realize how amazing all this world is around the pastoral culture. And the amazing thing is, because we have that Vías Pecuarias, that's transhumans drovers roads in Spain. They are official. We have several 125,000 kilometers of drovers road in Spain, and they are protected areas. Because the sheep culture have been so important in Spanish history and economy and people and rural cultures, that we are really shaped by this pastoral culture. And on top of that, that is part of the past, but it's part of the present as well. Why? Because pastoral culture and pastoral management has created one of the most important protected areas in Spain. Part of our landscapes and valuable landscapes and environment and biodiversity ecosystems are made by pastoral management systems. So if we lose this agriculture pastoral system, our valuable landscapes will change into something else. So we really need for sustainable systems to keep these traditional pastoral systems to maintain our biodiversity cycles and landscapes as we know it today.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for this conversation. I enjoyed it very much. We could talk about a lot of things. So if people want to get in touch with you as an organization, it's visiting your website, or it's any other channel to contact with Landcare Europe?
Yes, it's quite easy. If you say Landcare Europe in the internet, you get to our website, and there you have all the contacts. So you can easily send us an email, and we can answer you. And we invite all the organizations who are aligned with our vision and our mission to contact us. We will be really happy to talk to them and hopefully to invite them to be part of our European Landcare network.
Well, thank you for your time and for being here with us today.
Thank you very much, Fernando, for inviting us to present Landcare Europe. Thank you.
This is Rooted to Earth.